Hey, Dean, Super Performance. We're at the shop today and made a bunch of progress on, can't flip the camera, on the Escalade. Hold on one second. So, what I was working on was trying to figure out why it wouldn't shift and kind of has no power to it. So I went through everything. Drove myself nuts, basically, trying to figure it out. Put the glow plug module back in, hooked it up over here, thought maybe that's what's doing it. Everything. Went through the tune 10 times, which shouldn't have changed anything. And what it ended up being was it could see everything. It wouldn't see the two speed signals. 4L80 has an input shaft speed and a vehicle speed sensor. So none of the scanners, Tech 2, HP tuners, EFI Live, none of the scanners saw either one of the signals. So I just thought it was weird that neither one of them worked. So I crawled under there. I had no power to either sensor, which made it even weirder that I had no power to either sensor. So I kind of started tracing the wires back up to the transmission control module, which I mounted down there, and the signal was going out of the transmission control module. So I went under the truck, and I was actually on the phone with my brother, who always kind of says basics. Always start with basics. So I went under the truck and just went from the sensor to the connector. It's got a big connector like this one that the transmission plugs into. It has all the wires for the transmission, so it's its own little harness. And I had continuity from the sensor to the plug, but then from the plug I had no continuity up to the transmission control module. So I looked at the opposite side of the plug and noticed the wires were cut. So I went inside and grabbed the harness that I thought was for the coolant heater. It's down there. You can kind of see the back side of the plug right there. That is actually for the 2 speed sensors, and it has a couple other wires in it that go to the transmission. So that had everything in it. Look at that, found a hose clamp. Isn't that cool? So I wired those in, plugged it in, and put the Tech 2 on, and suddenly it saw the input shaft speed. So I drove, and the Tech 2 can see the vehicle speed. Mind you, the dashboard speedometer doesn't work. The tach doesn't work, which I kind of expected being the year change, but I mean, it starts right up. That's just a belt. I gave it a little bath. Everything was so dirty. So everything works. There's no... Wow, that's really loud. It's going away though. Once the belt dries, the squeal will go away. So the really good thing is, other than the traction control, because I can't connect to the ABS module on this truck through that ECU. I haven't wired the fuel gauge yet, but that will work once I wire it in. But everything else works. The coolant temp works, the volt works, oil pressure works, the transmission temp works, everything works, and it shifts on its own, which is like awesome. And then the DIC, obviously, it's always said service stability, service ride control. There's something wrong with the front shocks on this, and they're like the electronic shocks, but you can see there's no error message there. But if we go out and disconnect, like disconnect the map sensor, which has the intake temp sensor in it, and then come back in, it now says reduced engine power, and then it'll scroll through all the things: service ride control, service stability, and then it'll go back to reduced engine power. And you can hear it doesn't rev. That's like pinning it to the floor. Come back out. Plug that back in. Service stability. Service ride control. Service stability. So the reduced engine goes away, and it revs really good. For whatever reason, it still doesn't have like the power that it used to have in the van, and I believe it's fuel related. There's only a couple of wires here that I don't need, that don't go to anything that I need. So I'm gonna finish cleaning all this up. I'll probably zip tie, kind of how the factory did on this side, how they do it like that. I'll end up zip tying these in sections, clean that up, and then I can clip the fuse box back down. I got to mount the ECU. It's just kind of dangling there, but I hooked up all the coolant hoses. I kind of just teed in for where the coolant heater connects to the back of the motor on the bottom. That used to come off and go over to the coolant heater, and then there was a metal tube that ran across the top of the engine in the van and went to the heater core. So I just took a heater hose and I ran it along the frame across the front, and then teed it in right here with the other lower radiator hose, and then up into the heater core. This is like the factory Escalade coolant reservoir, which I need to make like a little bracket to kind of stand it back up, because over the years I kind of cut away some of the metal to get the turbo mounted and all that stuff. And then I'll get on to doing the AC lines. I capped them off for now, just so that it doesn't get dirty inside. But I got to get new lines made. Well, I have to make new lines. But yeah, so today I just decided to kind of pressure wash it, clean it up real quick. Just a quick pressure wash. It cleaned up fairly good. I'll do more as I get more done. I'll put a little more effort into cleaning it up, but it cleaned up pretty good. It's not too bad. It doesn't look all grimy like it used to. So I'm pretty freaking happy right now. I popped the other headlight in too. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I could drive it. It goes down the road. It'll go 80 miles an hour. But I just got to figure out this fueling issue. For whatever reason with this ECU on the van did have like it wasn't called a lift pump, it's called a prime pump. So it would run for a very short duration of time. So I didn't quite look into that, and I just pinned it. Like, this is my FASS pump, and I connected it to where it would go for the fuel pump, the factory fuel pump. And then this tan one here is the trigger for it. So what I think I'd rather do is just put a ground in there and have that pump stay on all the time, because it's either the pump going off that's causing the fuel issue because it's trying to pull through filters and all that stuff, or it's a bigger mistake I made when I did the sump, because this has a sump on it. You can see it right there in the bottom of the tank. It has a sump that then feeds the lift pump, and I use the van sending unit in the tank. So my second thought is, hold on. So my second thought is that hat, which I have the one out of the Escalade right here. Oh, boy. Oof. So this hat, obviously it doesn't have the sock on the bottom for the diesel van, but I think maybe what I did was set this on top of the sump. That's what I was looking for. And it's kind of blocking that off. I don't know that that's the issue. I don't think that's the issue, but it could be the issue. But I'm going to try and just run a direct ground into that relay and get the pump to stay on. And hopefully that fixes it, because that would be a nice, easy fix. But if that doesn't work, then I'm going to have to drop the tank and kind of go through the pump, make sure the pump's good, take the sending unit out. If I got to cut the bottom of the hat off, I can cut the bottom of the hat off. It's not a big deal. That sump, it just sits right in the bottom of the tank and catches all the fuel. So, and then wire in the fuel gauge, and that's pretty much it. The hood doesn't shut. I thought the hood would shut, but I had to remake the intake tube because of the coolant tank. Hold on. So I had to remake the intake tube, and now it's kind of sitting up, plus the sensor, and you can see where the sensor's hitting. When I close the hood down, I can get it to latch like the first safety latch, but it won't close all the way down. So I'm gonna try how this is like bumped out. I don't know if this is like the hollow part of the hood. I'm gonna try and cut some of that hollow part out and see if I can get away with doing that and get the hood to shut. If not, worst case scenario, I will cut this hood to be able to shut it all the way. That's my goal, to be able to shut the hood all the way. And then I made the brackets for the fan. I did do the electric fans, and then I just used the factory. This is off the Escalade. So typically in the ECU on the Escalade, it has two trigger wires that'll trigger a low speed and a high speed. Low speed is like if you turn your AC on, or the temperature's at like 195 or whatever it's set to. It'll kick that one on, and then when the temperature gets to 215 or 220 or whatever, it'll kick the high speed fan on. So that's this plug here. That's this plug here, which I twisted both wires together, and you can, yeah, ground. Both fans come on. Both fans come on high speed. So I got something somewhere. I just gotta remember what I did with it now. I got, where are you? That's not it either. Heh. I got what I lost. Wah. I had it here. So I bought a coolant temp sensor, like that is a ground trigger. What the heck? What the? There it is. See, losing everything, losing my mind, losing everything. So I got this. This is like an electric fan, sorry, relay kit. It comes with some terminals. Comes with, which I really like this one actually, like the battery feed and the output are, are real heavy gauge wire. And I've never bought one that has that heavy a gauge wire, which is pretty neat. So it comes with that, comes with the relay, a little breaker, and then this guy. Yep. So this is a coolant temp sensor that triggers a ground. I don't see the temp rating on it, but according to the box it's 5 degrees. So yeah, that's the part number. It's like a small block Chevy, big block Chevy, whatever. So, and then this adapter is typically what would go in like a small block Chevy head. This is more of like Camaro style stuff. Let me see this rating on it. I believe it's a 195 or 185. I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember, but it just has this male terminal. So what I could do is, being those wires are ground triggers, I'm gonna put that in somewhere in the cooling lines and run a wire to trigger the fans. So I'll just take those wires I just had, these ones, and I'll just connect the wire onto them. And then my thought was, because I got to drain all the coolant anyways, there's only water in it. I didn't put any coolant just to check and make sure there was no leaks, because I had the water pump leaked. I had to replace that, which wasn't actually that hard. I didn't have to pull the radiator or nothing. I thought I was going to have to. I did it in the van. It was a pain in the butt. But I did actually, while I did that, I did fix, there's an O-ring up in here. It was really old the first time I did this, and I reused it, and it was kind of sketchy, but it never leaked. But that one down there had an O-ring in it, and it did leak, just a tiny bit, to the point where I wasn't willing to take everything back apart to fix it. But I did fix that. I put a new O-ring, and I put a bunch of RTV, because I don't ever want that thing to leak. And then there was one more. There's a water pipe. You can see it right there. You can see the RTV on it. So a new water pump comes with the gasket for that. Come on. There it is. Comes with the gasket for that, but I also replaced that gasket the last time I did the water pump, and it had a minute drip. So I RTV'd that. I've run it a couple of times up to 190 degrees. It actually, without the fans, it really doesn't get that hot. It takes a long time for it to get to 200 degrees. Yesterday when I drove, it was at about 190, and then when I drove up the side road, and when I came back, turned around, I came back, it was down to 176. So I believe the electric fans will work. Everybody kind of has a big debate on whether they work or not, but I believe they will work. Because I'll only need them really like at idle, like at a red light or something like that. So I believe they'll work, and my plan is to probably put that sensor like in this neck here, the water housing, the thermostat housing, sorry. I did put 2 new thermostats in there. So see how these 2 are here? Those are coolant temp sensors for this motor. There's not enough room to add one in there. And these are 5-volt sensors. So like grabbing one of those won't work. It's not ground referenced. So that's kind of my plan. I know these are on the top side of the thermostat, so the thermostat would have to open and the coolant flow to get to that sensor. But being that it's right here on top of the neck, I believe it'll work. Worst case scenario, I find somewhere else to put it. Not sure where that would be, but this is simple enough. Being that I have to drain the water out of it anyways, I could drill and tap this right here, run that sensor in, and then just kind of bring the wire back through here and then into this harness or into that harness, and then up and along and over to there, and that'll be done. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at with it. I've kind of stepped away from it because it drove me nuts for like almost a week trying to find out why it won't shift, and it was just a simple made the dumb mistake of cutting wires out of the harness that I should have cut after I put the harness in and had everything connected. But it is what it is. So I've jumped back on working on the little MR2. I got the harness all pulled out. Try not to flip the phone around again because it's a pain in the butt. I got pretty much everything out of the engine bay. I'd taken the head off last week, but I got everything out. They brought, nope, it's not there, it's over here. So they brought that. They got it from someone, I believe, off like Facebook Market. And it's believed to be been rebuilt. So, but it's good. It's got everything. It's got the throttle body, all the injectors are in there, everything's there. It's basically complete. I don't have to put nothing together, just get it in the car, get it running. I'm gonna change quite a few things though as like a preventative maintenance. I'm gonna change the radiator hose on that side. There it is over there. Kind of see it. I'm gonna change that one. I'm gonna change this one and a couple others, but that's what I got for now. Just a quick update. Duramax is almost ready. As soon as I figure out this fuel issue, we are going to the dyno and see how much power and torque it makes. We will see. That's it. Appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified. Have a good day.